Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is a sad day indeed when the realms of men must face off one another, but we do have Empire versus Bretonnia today, as we have Katam leading the Empire forces, and we have Alacrity will be leading the Bretonnians. So for the Empire forces, of course, we do have Karl Franz up in the sky on his griffin, leading the forces as he does have Stand Your Ground, the Reichling Runefang, and Gal Maraz. So a very nice little bonus in an AoE with the melee attack and leadership, and a very nice bonus versus large and armor-piercing damage to Karl Franz himself. Should help deal with any of the large targets of Bretonnia. For the front line, though, we do have Spearmen at Shields with the Sigmar Suns mixed in. Very nice Unbreakable unit. Again, very nice in pretty much every mashup you're going to see with the Empire. We have the Silver Bullets in the back here, providing a bit of ranged firepower with double mortars and the Hammer of the Witches. So mortars should do quite well clearing out the Peasant Bowmen, and we have the Hammer of the Witches to deal with the Cav. In the back line, a couple more spears protecting the mortars and cannons, and for the mobility, we do have Knights of the Blazing Sun on both sides. A little bit interesting pick here. Against most of Bretonnian Cav, they're not going to do as well. They do fire damage, but not a whole lot of good benefits for that. They do have magic resist as well, but normally you will be seeing Demigryph Knights or something of the like. We do have the Warrior Priest as well, bringing the Hammer of Sigmar and the the Shield of Faith. And we also have a Jade Wizard bringing Earthblood and Regrowth. And that is going to wrap things up for the Empire forces. So over with Bretonnia already under firepower from the mortars and cannons, we have the two peasant bowmen with pox arrows in the front, and we do have a support of peasant mobs, lots of those chaff units, and a few spearmen at arms on the flanks. Otherwise, pretty much going to go heavy on the cav here from the looks of things, as we do have the Fey Enchantress with the Chalice of Potions, and as well as Earthblood and Shield of Thorns. And then for the rest of the mobility, we have the Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis, the Knights Errant ROR, with the Companions of Quenelles, the Questing Knights, and on the other side, we do have some more Questing Knights and Knights Errant. But the heaviest of the hitters is going to be in the sky, as we have two Royal Hippogriff Knights. These are some very beastly units, very expensive too, so we'll have to see if they're going to be able to pay off for themselves, but they are quite a threat, especially for Karl Franz here. 2 units of those, I don't think that's going to be he's going to be enough to take those on himself. He's going to need the support. And then we do have some cheeky little mounted yeomen vanguarded in the rear, trying to catch the Empire off guard. But that is going to be the armies, so let's get things rolling at full speed here, as the approach for the Bretonnians is under heavy fire from these mortars and the cannons. Mortars just doing a number on the peasant bowmen, exactly what they were brought here to do, and try and get them out of the picture as quickly as they can and remove that poison that they do provide. Now, the Silver Bullets have opened up into those Royal Hippogriff Knights, already generating a ton of value, and the Knights of the Blazing Sun charging into the Mounted Yeomen, but will get very much countercharged by these Royal Hippogriff Knights, and they are going to take a ton of damage, as these Mounted Yeomen pretty much just there to absorb that charge, and they will rout quickly, and the rest of the forces, though, are going to be engaging, and surprisingly enough, these Royal Hippogriff Knights taking a ton of damage from Karl Franz, who does have the Reichling Runefang and Gal Maraz all popped, and one of the units actually does rout, but the rest of the cavalry is just collapsing upon this position right here. So much is going to hinge on this battle so early on in the match, and another Knights of the Blazing Sun does get a charge, and they are actually able to shatter one of the Royal Hippogriff Knights, and such an expensive unit off the field so quickly for Bretonnia. That is just a devastating thing, but a nice Chalice of Potions. They're not going to hit any of the super elite troops of the Knights of the Blazing Sun, but it will clear out a good chunk of the infantry. But otherwise, the Bretonnians are just washing upon the defenses of the Empire, as some of these questing knights do get on top of the Hammer of the Witches, but it is just a mass of infantry as they just spill forward, and the Empire is trying to hold them back, but the heavy hitters are going quite well for the Empire here, as Karl Franz is able to deal with these Royal Hippogriff Knights quite well, and even dealing the final blow to these Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis, as they are able to push them back. Knights of the Blazing Sun going to be getting a nice charge into these questing knights, as they are still at full health, doing some decent damage themselves, able to see that they are actually able to hold their own against some of the heavier hitters, but we still have quite a bit for the Empire to deal with, as these Royal Hippogriff Knights are still at full health. We do have a Jade Wizard kind of off into the middle here, just kind of watching as this battle just kind of unfolds around him, and the Warrior Priest as well probably should be rocking with the Knights of the Blazing Sun and Karl Franz himself. Not a whole lot he's going to be doing with just against Chaff here, but otherwise the Fey Enchantress going to be draining down the rest of the Empire forces here as she is engaged in melee, so the Spearmen, the Knights of the Blazing Sun, all going to be taking a bit of extra damage there. Now the Royal Hippogriff Knights engaging with these Knights of Blazing Sun, but Karl Franz is here as well, and they do have the spear support, but the Fey Enchantress is also assisting her cavalry and mobility corps. So she will have the heals, and she will have that Mortis Engine draining effect on all of the surrounding forces, as actually the Knights of Blazing Sun do get terrified from those Royal Hippogriff Knights, but Karl Franz is in a bad spot right now as he is able to pull out through his own Spearmen, but he took quite a bit of damage there, and he is quickly approaching his heal cap himself. Now the Jade Wizard going to try and just kind of avoid the battle as best that he can, but if you take a look at the rest of the forces, the cannon crew of the Hammerhead, the Witch, is starting to take quite a bit of damage, although those explosions are coming in from these mortars, but the Spearmen at Arms is going to be able to get on top of them, shut them down for the time being, and I think Bretonnia, what they have struggled with is kind of shutting down the key units. These cannons have been able to just be singing this entire match, and that initial engagement definitely did not go their way, but the balance of power is still quite even, as another Earthblood will go down on these forces, trying to keep the companions of Quenelles in the fight for as long as they can, getting a little bit more healing their way, and the Royal Hippogriff Knights will jump on top of Karl Franz as they start just dealing a ton of damage, because he does not have any support right now. The Knights of Blazing Sun are not close enough, and there is the Warrior Priest there, so he does have the Reichling Runefang and Galmaraz popped once again, and he is dishing out quite a bit of damage to these Royal Hippogriff Knights, but he's taking more than he can handle right now, and he is going to try and pull out through his own units. But by doing so, he's going to leave a lot of his other forces kind of isolated a bit, as he is going to be pulling out. The Fae does drop another of her Chalice of Potions, and it will do quite a bit of good work onto the Spearmen, routing off more of them bit by bit, and kind of wearing down the support of the rest of the forces. Now the Knights of Blazing Sun almost able to deal the final blow to these Royal Hippogriff Knights. They were wavering for a second, but the Knights of Blazing Sun do get pushed off instead, and that is going to be it for the mobility support for the Empire by the looks of things, as that is their last cavalry other that they had brought. So it is going to be Bretonnians with that mobility advantage in the late game, as they have pulled ahead in the balance of power, and these Royal Hippogriff Knights chasing after Karl Franz, looking to finish him off once and for all, and Karl Franz needs another heal, and I think he is too far away from his Jade Wizard to get that at this time. He's just going to be going farther and farther from all the support that he has, but I mean, all of the artillery is being routed off. There is some Spearmen still left, but things not looking so great for the Empire in this late stage, as the Peasant Bowmen themselves have returned from their initial route early on in the battle, so they will have that poison added in this late game. But overall, there is still a bit of Spearmen left for the Empire, and I guess it is just against peasants at this time. However, the Fae is here, so is the Warrior Priest, but the Warrior Priest against the Fae, neither are like super good in melee, but that drain that the Fae has should be able to hold things off at least for quite some time. And Karl just continuing to run away from the Royal Hippogriff Knights. If we take a quick little look at their stats, Karl Franz has a speed of 90, and the Royal Hippogriff Knights are at 90 as well. So they are evenly matched, so without any of the poison, which is something that the Bretonnians could do, is they could peel off one of these Peasant Bowmen and just go and shoot at Karl a little bit, get that poison onto him, slow him down, and those Royal Hippogriff Knights would quickly catch him in no time at that point. Now, this engagement here actually seems to be going better and better for Bretonnia, as that Fae just isn't able to get taken down, as the Warrior Priest trying to engage, but the rest of the Empire forces just getting whittled down bit by bit from this incoming archer fire, and these companions of Quenelles will be escorting that Jade Wizard off the field. There is no way that he is going to be coming back into this fight, though some of the cannon crews and mortar teams have returned. However, I don't think that Bretonnia is going to allow that to happen, though they have been able to push off all of the infantry, so it is just down to the Fae and this one unit of the companions of Quenelles. So it's possible, and actually the Jade Wizard does come back, surprisingly enough, that those companions were not able to push it off. Luckily that actually the Jade Wizard was on foot, so those companions were forced to kind of slow down, allowing those spearmen to kind of catch up. But yeah, still things not looking so great for the Empire, as actually Karl Franz did get caught out a little bit, and he is going to be routing, and he is down to only 252 health, and those Royal Hippogriff Knights, feeling that he is going to be off the field, are going to be returning to the battle. So this is looking quite grim for the Empire forces, as the companions are just going to be cycling in and out on these peasant bowmen, will be firing at the approaching spearmen, trying to just whittle them down bit by bit. At this point, I mean, the Fey Enchanters can probably just engage in melee with all of these forces. They don't need to keep kiting away at this point, because that Fey, I mean, these spearmen aren't going to be able to deal the final blow to her, and she's going to deal out way more damage in return. Now, the Warrior Priest instead is going to try and free up the Hammer of the Witch's crew, who have gotten back onto their forces, and Karl has actually returned as well, but he is still wavering. But if these cannon crew can get back online, they should be able to finish off the Companions of Quenelles and then start turning their attention towards the Royal Hippogriff Knights. So they have returned, and we also do have the mortar team as well. Now, if they can get to their artillery pieces, which is up here and over here, they may be able to finish off the remaining peasant bowmen as well. But one did actually get shattered off, and here you can see that Fey is just draining down all of these forces bit by bit. So you really don't need any of the rest of the forces to deal with these spearmen. The spearmen need to pull off themselves to try and salvage the situation as best they can. But we have the Sigmar Sons, 12 of them in total, standing tall as the Hammer of the Witches does fire into the Companions of Quenelles, peeling off models bit by bit. A little bit of friendly fire there, but able to finally shatter the Companions as the cannon crew does finally return. And Karl Franz still up in the air, and he does going to get a heal at this point. It's going to be Earthblood if they have enough. It is a regrowth, so that's going to be a ton of healing going his way, and a bit of vigor as well. So that is going to be exceptionally helpful to deal with the rest of the forces. If the balance of power is going to be back into the Empire's favor with that heal and that cannon crew getting online, dealing with the Companions. And the Fey Enchantress, though, has eliminated most of the spear support, but now Karl is engaged with the Royal Hippogriff Knights, turning the tide, as he does have Stand Your Ground, Reichling Runefang, and Gal Maraz all popped, and it is a fight for the finish here as this battle continues. But he's just peeling models off left, right, and center. Only 3 of them left. One is surprisingly still on the ground, but 2 more will fall to his blade, and it is now just down to this one Royal Hippogriff Knight, and Karl Franz is looking pretty strong here, though he is exceptionally low on health. He is at 73. He is at 73 health. These peasants alone might be able to finish him off, as Karl does try and dive down on top of the Fey, pushing her off the field. But man, that Royal Hippogriff Knight just needs a single attack, but army losses trigger, and the Empire takes it in the end. So very, very close indeed. Oh man, Karl Franz was just so close to going down there, and had he dropped in that engagement with the Royal Hippogriff Knights, that may have been enough for the balance power to shift the other way. And if we look at the value, Karl Franz getting 2100, not as much as I thought he would have gotten. He did a massive amount of damage to those Royal Hippogriff Knights, but otherwise the Knights of Blazing Sun actually surprisingly doing fairly well, especially this unit here getting almost 1400 points. A little bit surprised at that. I didn't expect them to perform quite as well against the enemy cavalry. Mortars kind of just doing their thing. Hammer of the Witches did decent as well, especially in that late game, though, having it come back and being able to deal with the Companions at the end. Very nice indeed. Warrior Priest doing some decent work, and the heals from the Jade Wizard always very important. On the Bretonnia side, of course, we have the Fae doing her thing with her draining all over the course of the map. And the rest of the forces, though, just, kind of what you'd expect from peasants. Kind of the real question is, how did the forces go for the cavalry? And if we take a quick little look at those, the Companions actually did quite well themselves. 2200 damage value, definitely pulling their weight much better than the other questing knights. And man, that's the value you look for with those Royal Hippogriff Knights, getting 3,400, as they do cost about 2,000. So even though this other unit really didn't do so much, it got taken out so quickly, which was a shame for Bretonnia. Had they been a little bit more careful with those Royal Hippogriff Knights not jumping the gun so early, I think they really felt that they had the advantage. But losing them, I think, pretty much cost them a big advantage, because considering how well this other one did, getting 3,400, that is insane value there. But that will be all I have for you all today. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good one.